another former first-round pick, is now in Pittsburgh. Aaron Curry has reportedly or is reportedly expected to be hired by the Pittsburgh Steelers as their new linebacker coach, replacing Brian Flores, the former 4th overall pick for the Seattle Seahawks. Didn't play long, like 4 years, 5 years in the NFL. Never really stuck. I believe he did play the Steelers in the Super Bowl, though. So does have a little bit of history. Spent some time coaching at the University of Charlotte, home of Alex Highsmith, and left there in 2018, I believe, headed to Seattle as just like a coaching assistant, has worked his way up a little bit. Now he's in Pittsburgh as the inside linebackers coach. Good move, bad move, boring move. What are your thoughts on it?
I think risky move is how I would define it. There's
Okay.
just not a ton of history to this guy's, coaching career. That's not to say he will be a bad coach definitively, but it feels somewhat un-Mike Tomlin like. It feels I don't know, just walking into like going from Brian Flores, a guy with a wealth of experience, he was a head coach before. You downgraded a little bit, and you were going to downgrade pretty much no matter who you hired, but this is a guy with 4 years of, or not even 4 years, I believe 3 or 4 years of NFL coaching experience, period. Never as a position coach. The bulk of his experience was built in college, and that was not a particularly long stay at Charlotte either. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. There's, he was obviously a talented guy. I think it'll be interesting to see if they, what they do with Devin Bush, because this is a guy who I feel like has kind of a similar experience, a former first round pick who just didn't work out.
Do you think they keep Devin Bush? Is that what you mean by that? Like they
No,
resign?
but well, I mean, I don't, but like, I don't know. There's something there, right? Like, there's a common experience there. I think
True.
I feel feels more likely now that they brought this guy in. I don't think they brought a guy in just to coach up Devin Bush. That doesn't
No. But I see the connection. I see where you're going there.
right. But like but in the same vein, you wonder if they're thinking, okay, we're gonna have to bring in a young linebacker at some point during this draft. We need someone who, maybe you could try to bring in a young former, top tier linebacker to coach him through, say, hey, this is what I did wrong. This is how my NFL experience didn't pan out. Here's what you need to do to kind of make it at that next level. But I don't know. I'm a little unsure about this, and I guess it's just a kind of wait and see thing for me, because this feels, I don't know. It feels weird. I feel like they went early on this. Like they didn't wait around to find a more experienced candidate, so they see something in this guy that I haven't seen.
Yeah, I agree. I was shocked that it happened now. That's what got me. As I was, I was like, why in February? Why in February for a guy
That
that
you
doesn't
probably
have
could
a
have
name? Yeah.
gotten later in the process after
June.
trying some more.
Yeah. Middle of June, March, April. Like you could have got him. You could have got him the day of the draft. You could have signed. It wasn't like he was a free agent either. Like the guy was signed to the Seattle Seahawks and is now a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't know. Like maybe it does have upside. It fits their bill of we want young developmental coaches who we could, grow into these good coaches without the risk of leaving us every season. Boring, but that's what the Pittsburgh Steelers like. But it just like it's even more underwhelming than what they usually do. Like at least Matt Canada had some experience. There was flashes of good. He had a relationship with Mike Tomlin. He had the relationship with the Steelers being a part of Pitt. Like you saw the connection there. Aaron Curry, you're just like, okay, this guy never made it in the NFL, did nothing with Seattle. And like, I don't know, with Seattle's defense, like they're good. Were they that good? And like, did he play a big enough role where you're like, okay, this guy's got to come coach our inside linebackers? And on top of that, how much is he going to connect with a guy like Miles Jack? Like, can you bring a rookie linebackers coach in there and say, hey, veterans, listen to this guy, because he's going to teach you a lot of what he wasn't able to do in the NFL. And I get that, on the other side of that, a lot of those guys that don't make it in the NFL that should have made it in the NFL usually have the brains to be a good coach. And maybe Aaron Curry has shown people, and is buzz around the league of, oh, okay, this guy does have star coach potential. He's just new. But I don't know. Like, he's been in the coaching game since what, 2014? That's 9 years of coaching to just now get your first positional coaching job. Just underwhelming. I would say very, very underwhelming.
Yeah, and it's possible, Pete Carroll saw something in him. Pete Carroll, I don't think is a bad coach.
No.
I think that's certainly a feather in his cap. But yeah, I don't know. This is an important position for the Steelers, especially at this moment in their history, and it just feels like a weird hire to make it this time.
Yeah, it very much so does. I don't think it moves the needle at all. I will say this, that if they're going that boring on defense, I think that they might make a little bit of a splash on offense, because I think that's what needed to happen. Is you needed to see the Steelers hire a replacement for Brian Flores just to show that they're serious about that position. Because Brian Flores is a one in a million shot. Shouldn't have got Brian Flores. There's no question there. That ruined the Steelers' expectations, or Steelers fans' expectations for this whole thing, because you land Brian Flores year one of this position, you're looking at it going, well, every year we should have the best coach on the market we should go hire to be a position coach. That's not what you do. It was just the NFL tried to shun Brian Flores, and Mike Tomlin went, well, that's really dumb, and hired him. That won't happen again. But you needed to see that they liked what they saw out of that position, and they saw the benefits of having that extra set of eyes and hands on the coaching staff. Whereas I think that they could do that and make a lesser hire on defense, which is what they did, because they do have a lot of trust in Terrell Austin. But I think it kind of pushes the needle to say, hey, they're also going to do it on offense. And that's when I think things could get interesting with a guy like Byron Leftwich or Pep Hamilton, or, one of those bigger names without a coaching offer that has OC experience to kind of come in here and, be that same role.
So you think, so it can't be an offensive coordinator, right? But it's got to be a position coach or something.
I would imagine it's like an assistant, like a senior offensive assistant, like Flores was. And then, like, I don't know, I guess they would kind of tackle a position. I would imagine it's like a coaching, like a quarterback assistant at the same time, but they already have two quarterback coaches. So that would get difficult. I don't know where he fits into the grand scheme of coaching a position, but at the same time, that's how I guess it was. I guess it was Keith Butler was the inside linebackers coach / defensive coordinator, but it wasn't. He was just the defensive coordinator. It wasn't really a linebackers coach. It was Jerry O. So now you have to look at it and say, like, okay, is this, can you bring in another quarterbacks coach and feel good about it and kind of just be that second hand to Mike Sullivan, or I don't know, maybe a running backs coach or a wide receivers coach. Both of those guys, I think Pep Hamilton and Byron Leftwich are the top of that list. If I had to pick one of them that ends up in Pittsburgh, it would be those two, or anybody on the market. I would pick those two, because I don't think either of them are going to get a coaching offer, or like an offensive coaching offer or offensive coordinator offer. And I think both of them want to stay in the NFL. They don't want to take a year off, especially Hamilton. Hamilton's a guy that he's already been around the league. Like, this guy is not young. He's not somebody that you could bring in here and just say, okay, revive your career with a year off. No, he takes a year off. Chances are it's just going to go downhill. So you stay in Pittsburgh, or you come to Pittsburgh, you could change that and keep that course of action moving in the right direction. Byron Leftwich might be the other hand of that, but at the same time, do you want to take a risk of people kind of losing steam around this guy, or do you come to Pittsburgh? The problem is both of those guys are quarterback coaches. So maybe you kind of like just bump Mike Sully to the side and say, you two are now working together. I don't know. I don't know how that works specifically, but I would still say those two are the top of the list.